Christmas always felt like a lie wrapped in glitter and lights, hiding the cracks no one wanted to see. I never liked Christmas. The town below glows with holiday cheer, its every corner draped in lights, its streets filled with hollow laughter, and the clinking of mugs raised in unison. From my perch on this frozen hill, I can see them all, their warmth spilling out of frosted windows, their joy brushing against the night like a taunt. They don't know I'm here, but I've been watching them long enough to know how the show ends. It wasn't always this way. Once I believed in the magic, but that was before the cracks formed, before I realized that joy was just a mask they wore to forget what lurks behind the tinsel and the carols. They don't see it, but I do, and tonight I'll remind them. My breath rises in pale clouds, mixing with the December chill. The house at the end of Maple Lane catches my attention, a perfect postcard of holiday bliss. The lights on the eaves flicker like fireflies, their rhythm almost hypnotic. Inside, a family gathers around a towering tree. The parents, still young enough to cling to the fantasy, laugh as their daughter dances in a circle of shimmering paper and ribbons. The little girl stops mid-twirl, her head snapping toward the dark window. She sees something, or maybe she feels it. Her gaze locks on mine for a moment too long, and my lips curl into a smile. Of course, she can't truly see me. Not yet, but she will. The snow beneath my boots crunches as I move closer, weaving through the shadows at the edge of their world. My fingers trail along the bark of a tree, the icy roughness grounding me. This place, it reeks of safety, of promises whispered into the night and fulfilled in the morning. But safety is an illusion. They'll learn that soon enough. I take one last look at the glowing house. My hands tighten around the object I've carried since I arrived here. A box wrapped in pristine red paper, tied with a golden bow. It's almost poetic. Really, their gift has been waiting longer than they know. I leave no footprints as I approach the back of the house, as if the snow itself recoils from my touch. Tonight, their laughter will fade, their lights will dim, and their carefully constructed world will shatter. Merry Christmas. The back of the house feels quieter than the front, as if even the wind knows not to intrude. The windows here are less adorned, their curtains drawn to shield the family's secrets. Secrets always hide in the dark, don't they? I press my gloved hand against the frosted glass of the kitchen window, leaving behind the faintest smudge. The warmth inside swirls to condensation, making the world behind it blur. I've been here before, you know. Not in this house, but in others just like it. They all feel the same, stale and soft, wrapped in the same saccharine veneer. The smell of pine needles and gingerbread drifts through the air, cloying, suffocating. It makes me wonder how they can stand it. The little girl skips back into view, clutching a stuffed bear that looks as worn as her belief in magic. Her parents laugh at something, their voices muffled, as they sit by the fire. And then, she does it again. Her head tilts toward the window, toward me. I slip back into the shadows as her small face presses to the glass. She's searching for something, or someone. Children always know, don't they? I let her search for a moment longer before moving toward the side door. A crack in the frame, that's in the cold. It must bother them sometimes, that chill, but they never fixed it. People don't fix things until it's too late. The door doesn't creak when I push it open. I checked it earlier in the day. No deadbolt, just a simple latch. Too trusting, too foolish. Inside, the air is thick with heat and happiness, but underneath it all is the sound I've been waiting for. The steady tick of the old grandfather clock in the hall. I've always loved clocks. They remind people that time is slipping away, that even this moment, this warmth, this comfort, it doesn't last. I linger in the hall, my fingers brushing against the wallpaper. It's textured, patterned with tiny flowers that feel like they're crawling under my skin. My hand tightens around the box I'm carrying. I almost laugh at how perfect it looks against the quaintness of their home. The red paper shines under the dim light of the hallway, and the golden box catches the flicker of the fire. I place it gently on the table near the entrance to the living room. It looks so harmless sitting there, doesn't it? A gift, unassuming, waiting to be unwrapped. The little girl's giggles echo from the other room, and for a moment, I hesitate, not out of regret, no. I hesitate because I know this moment is the last of their piece, and there's a twisted satisfaction in stretching it out. Let them enjoy it. Let them think the world is still kind. A sound pulls me from my thoughts, a shuffle. Faint but deliberate. I freeze, every muscle tightening. The sound came from behind me in the kitchen. I know I'm alone here. I know no one followed me, but for the briefest second, I feel something. A breath warm against my neck. I turn sharply, but there's nothing there. Just the ticking of the clock and the faint hum of the refrigerator. My heartbeat slows, though the unease lingers. The house feels different now, as if it's watching me the way I'm watching them. I brush it off. Shadows play tricks, especially when you've been in them as long as I have. The little girl's voice calls out from the living room, muffled but curious. Mommy, who put that there? I smile. The game has begun. I don't move as the mother's voice responds. What do you mean, sweetie? Put what where? Her tone is light, dismissive, the kind of voice that tells a child their fears are silly. But the girl doesn't let it go. The box, it wasn't there before. Did Santa bring it early? The father laughs. Short, amused, oblivious. Honey, Santa's not coming until tomorrow night. Let me see. His footsteps echo lightly as he crosses the living room. They grow louder as he approaches the hallway, where the gift waits. Where I wait, I press myself deeper into the shadows of the adjacent room, my body blending into the dark corner of the kitchen. The only light comes from the glow of their Christmas tree spilling into the hall. The father stops at the entrance, his silhouette framed against the warmth of the living room. He looks down at the box, tilting his head like a curious dog. Well, that's strange, he mutters. It's always strange, isn't it? Strange until it isn't. Strange until it's terrifying. He picks up the box, his fingers brushing the paper. For a moment, I wonder if he'll unwrap it, but he doesn't. He just turns it over in his hands, searching for a tag, for some indication of its origin. There isn't one. Of course, the golden bar shines mockingly in the dim light. You must have put this here earlier. He calls back to his wife, his voice tinged with forced nonchalance. I can hear her laugh in response, light and dismissive, the kind of laugh that keeps the monsters at bay. I didn't put anything there. Maybe your mom stopped by earlier and dropped it off. His mom, people always reach for the rational explanation. It comforts them, but I know better. There's no comfort here. He sets the box back on the table, right where I left it. My fingers twitch, itching to see his face when he realizes it's not what he thinks. But not yet, not yet. The little girl's voice cuts through the room again, sharper this time. It's not Grandma's. I saw him leave it there. It's silence. The father turns his head slowly, peering down the hall toward the living room. What do you mean? Hem. She repeats, her voice trembling now. The man in the window. The mother laughs nervously, but it doesn't reach her words. Sweetie, what are you talking about? There's no man. You're just imagining things. But her words are faster now, clipped at the edges, and I can hear the tension building. Parents know when something is wrong, even if they won't admit it. The father takes a step toward the living room, away from the box. For a moment, I think he might brush it off, too, but then he stops. His head tilts just slightly, like he's listening to something, and then I hear it too, the ticking. The grandfather clock's steady rhythm has changed. Its tempo uneven, distorted. It's louder now, filling the hall, pounding in my ears like a heartbeat. He notices it. I see his shoulders stiffen, his body tensing. What the hell is that? He mutters. He takes another step, this one hesitant, as if the air itself has grown heavier. I watch as he moves closer to the clock, his hand reaching out to touch its polished wooden frame. And then it stops, the ticking. The house plunges into a silence so thick it feels alive. The father looks back toward the living room, his face barely visible in the faint light. "Did you hear that?" he asks, but his voice is barely above a whisper now. The mother responds, her voice trembling. Hear what? The little girl doesn't answer. She's staring into the darkness of the hallway, her eyes wide and blinking. She sees me, I know she does. The father takes another step, but this time he hesitates. He's not looking at the clock anymore. He's looking at the box. The bow glints like a predator's eye in the dark. I step forward, just enough for the floor to creak beneath my boot. The sound cuts through the silence like a knife. The father's head snaps toward me, his breath hitching. He can't see me. Not really, but he knows he's not alone. The father's breath catches in his throat, his body frozen like prey caught in a hunter's sight. I stay in the shadow just long enough for his panic to grow, for his instincts to scream louder than his rationality. It's not the kind of fear you shout about. It's the kind that locks your limbs and twists your thoughts. His hand trembles as he reaches for the light switch on the wall. I wait for him to find it, for the comforting click that does nothing to banish me. The bulb flickers once, twice, and then stays on, but light doesn't make him feel safe. He stares down the empty hallway, the box still sitting on the table like an accusation. His lips move, forming words he can't say aloud. His wife calls out from the living room again, her voice tighter, more urgent. "Is everything okay? Stay there," he mutters back, barely loud enough for her to hear. But his voice betrays him. It's not the calm tone of someone in control. It's the quiver of someone who knows the world has just shifted beneath their feet. The ticking starts again, not the grandfather clock this time. No, this is faster, sharper. It comes from the box. Each tick pierces the air, growing louder, faster, until it's all he can hear. He steps back, his hand outstretched as if warding off a snake. The little girl screams. It's the kind of scream that shatters walls, that sends ice racing through veins. The mother rushes toward her, abandoning whatever comfort the living room had offered. "What is it? What's wrong?" she cries. The girl whispers, pointing past her father. "Past the box, past the light, he's behind you." The mother turns sharply, her breath catching as she stares into the space behind her husband. There's nothing there, of course, not that she can see, but her eyes dart around the hallway, her fear feeding into his, building a storm they can't contain. The father moves toward the box, his trembling hands reaching for it. He doesn't want to open it. I can see it in his face, the way his body screams to run even as his mind tells him he has to know. "Stop," I say softly. My voice is barely more than a whisper, but it stops him cold. His eyes widen, his head whipping around to find the source. He doesn't see me. Not yet, but he knows I'm there. I said stop. I repeat, louder this time, stepping out of the shadow. The kitchen light catches the edge of my face, just enough for him to see something, an outline, a suggestion of a man who doesn't belong. His wife gasps, pulling their daughter close. The little girl doesn't move, her wide eyes stay locked on mine. "Who are you?" the father chokes out. His voice is hoarse, brittle. He takes another step back, his hand brushing against the box. It responds, the ticking stopping abruptly, replaced by a faint hum, a vibration. I take a step forward, the air around me thickening with every movement. My presence fills the hallway, pushing against them, crushing the fragile safety they thought they had. "You don't remember me?" I ask, my tone dripping with mockery. "But you invited me in, didn't you?" He shakes his head, his confusion spilling over into terror. "I didn't, you did." My voice cuts through his denial, sharp and final. "You've all been inviting me in, year after year, with your lights and your songs and your perfect little lives. And now I'm here, to remind you what's waiting in the dark." The humming grows louder, the box vibrates against the table, its edges starting to bulge, the red paper splitting like skin stretched too tight. The father stumbles back as the golden bough unravels on its own, twisting and writhing like a living thing. The little girl speaks again, her voice eerily calm. "It's for you, Daddy." The box explodes. Not in fire, but in shadow. Tendrils of blackness pour out, swallowing the hallway, the light, and their screams. The air fills with a sound I can't describe, a cacophony of whispers, cries, and something far older. I stand in the eye of the storm, watching as they're pulled into the void. The little girl doesn't fight. She stares at me as the shadows take her, her lips curling into the faintest of smiles. For a moment I wonder if she knows something I don't, and then it's over. The house is silent again, the box gone, the family gone. Only the clock remains, ticking steadily as if nothing happened. The silence feels different now. It's heavier, like the house itself is holding its breath, waiting for something that will never come. I stand in the middle of the hallway, letting my eyes adjust to the absence of light. The family is gone, their laughter, their fear, all swallowed by the shadows that came for them. I pick up the faint scent of burning pine, sharp and acrid, though nothing in the house has caught fire. The Christmas tree still stands in the corner of the living room, its ornaments glittering weakly in the darkness. It looks smaller now, its brightness dimmed by the weight of what's been taken. I walk toward it, my boots heavy against the hardwood floor. The ticking of the clock follows me, an unwelcome reminder that even now, time marches on. My fingers brush against the lowest branch of the tree, the needles brittle and dry. Beneath it, the gifts remain untouched, their glossy paper reflecting the faint glow of dying fairy lights. It's always like this, the remnants left behind. The world moves on, pretending the holes don't exist. As I turn toward the door, a sound stops me. A faint, rhythmic tapping, like nails against wood. It comes from the floor above. My eyes narrow, and for the first time, something cold and unfamiliar tightens in my chest. I wasn't expecting this. I move toward the staircase, each step creaking beneath my weight. The air grows colder as I ascend, my breath visible in the faint moonlight filtering through the upstairs window. The tapping grows louder, more insistent, as though it's trying to guide me or warn me. At the top of the stairs, I stop. The hallway stretches out before me, impossibly long, the doors on either side closed tight. But one of them, at the very end, is ajar. The tapping comes from there. I step forward, the floor groaning beneath me, the sound echoing louder than it should. My fingers brush against the wall for balance, and I feel it, a dampness, sticky and warm. I pull my hand back to see a faint smear of something dark against my glove. Blood or something, pretending to be. The door at the end of the hall creaks open wider, as if beckoning me inside. I hesitate, the cold feeling in my chest spreading. I've seen many things, done many things, but this is different. I push the door open. The room is empty, save for a single rocking chair in the corner. It faces the window, its wooden frame swaying gently back and forth, the tapping sound now unmistakable as its legs hit the floor. On the chair, nestled neatly on the seat, is the little girl's stuffed bear. It shouldn't be here, it shouldn't. I step closer, my movements slow, deliberate. The bear stares up at me, its button eyes glinting in the dim light. Around its neck is a ribbon, red and frayed, the same color as the wrapping paper from the box. For the first time, I feel it, the weight of eyes on me, watching, waiting. From the shadows of the room, a voice whispers. It's faint, almost imperceptible, but it stops me cold. It's not the girl, it's not the parents, it's something older, deeper. Who do you think invited you? I step back, my chest tightening. The rocking chair stops abruptly, the room plunging into silence once more. But the bear remains, and the air around it feels charged, alive. I know better than to touch it. I leave the room, closing the door behind me. The house feels smaller now, its walls pressing inward as I make my way back downstairs. I don't look back. Whatever waits in that room doesn't need me to. Outside, the snow has stopped falling. The town below is quiet. Its glow dimmer than before. I stand at the edge of the yard, my breath curling into the cold air. They won't find the family tomorrow. The house will sit empty, its lights flickering until someone comes to clean it out, to erase the memory of what was. That's how these things always go, but this time feels different. I don't know why. Maybe it's the bear. Maybe it's the voice. Maybe it's the faint sense that something has followed me out here, lingering just beyond the edge of my vision. I take one last look at the house, its windows dark and empty. The ticking of the clock inside carries on, steady and relentless, as if marking time for something yet to come. Merry Christmas, indeed. And as the shadows grow deeper and the clock keeps ticking, remember, the dark always comes calling. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more tales that will keep you up at night. And before you go, click one of the videos on your screen for more chilling horror stories. The dark is waiting. Are you ready?